promote this on Facebook.
There we go.
It's okay. Yeah. Well, thank you.
I feel terrible.
Well, at least I tried, but yeah.
Well,
I didn't even rewatch this since watching it 2 weeks ago. So
well, as long as you remember it enough to talk about.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Was it really
good.
2 weeks ago?
There were some wonderful colors in action.
There were.
It's a cartoon. You could be saying about anything. Well, all right. Gang, we are here. Welcome to What If. We talked about What If for episode 2 of the Marvel Disney Plus series, What If. This week, it's going to be one of the, I think, the most highly anticipated episodes of the series. What If T'Challa became Starlord? Joining me tonight, as always, are Earth's Mightiest Critics. Certainly not the full contingent, because one of them, I think, is at SHANG-CHI right now, watching that Marvel movie, and we'll have some news about that coming up at the end of the show. Please.
Or as they say in the Midwest, Shang-Chi.
Hey,
Shang-Chi.
Until I heard Annie pronounce it in the green room before this, I was saying Shang-Chi in my horrible Chicago accent.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we'll talk more about that later, and when we'll be talking about that later. With me now is Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics. I like you shortened it to CLC.
I did shorten it to CLC.
Very cool. David Fowley of Keeping It Real, and Don Shanahan of 25 Years Later and Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. And Every Movie Has a Lesson. Don, I have to go back and listen to yours and Will's show on the Tree of Life, because as you saw earlier this week, I revisited the Tree of Life after the first time in a decade. I've completely fallen in love with that movie.
You too.
Yes.
You too.
Well, no, you two is fine. You know, Joshua Tree is still the gold standard. But anyway, I will say I'm excited to talk about this episode because I have yet to be impressed by an episode of What If.
Out of 2. Well, you know, every squirrel gets a nut.
Every scroll gets a what? A cree? What?
A nut.
That should be a meme. Every scroll gets a nut, Don. You could have a little squirrel. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. But no, so there's only room for improvement. I'm curious to see what everyone else thought about this episode, particularly in relation to the way a lot of these characters that we see were portrayed in the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how this show works just as kind of an independent creation for people that is kind of like casual people to come into, versus it being built for people who are fans of the movies. So let's start off by Don. I nominate you to give the synopsis for What If T'Challa became Starlord. Go.
So, in the second episode of What If, it starts actually very, very quickly, where you have instead of your Peter Quill stroll up to pick up the Infinity Stone on Morag, you have the same kind of figure making those moves, and not with no music and no strut, but all of a sudden it becomes T'Challa instead of Peter Quill. And from there, the springboard that was our introduction to Peter Quill. That becomes our animated introduction to T'Challa in the same place. So this is the story of whether of when he is picked up out of Wakanda back in the 90s instead of Peter Quill. And from there, you have a very even-keeled man of royalty in the cast of the Ravagers, so to speak. So the temperament and missions and maybe galactic purpose of the Ravagers is far different, with that kind of guiding light and influence for the next 20 years, to the point where he convinced the Mad Titan Thanos to kind of be a bit of a good guy, which is a stretch the size of a package of Big League Chew. So
it is called What If.
It is called What If, and that's the fun part. Like, we can really play with ideas like that. Now, as a stretch, it is, if you have a guy as even-keeled and knowledgeable and wise as T'Challa getting in Thanos' ear for 20 years, I think you probably could turn the man around, especially because, and Thanos likes to say so in the episode, he's probably not all that far off in what he wants, but just kind of goes about it in a better way thanks to the influence of the people around him. Now, from there, you have to have, some kind of duel and things going on to incite some action. And our villain this episode is the Collector, Benicio del Toro's character from the Guardians of the Galaxy series, where there are hijinks afoot of where that could go. And I'll leave that there. I know we're in spoilers, but that's kind of enough. And as a what if episode, this is what if they picked up a different kid from a different continent and how that would all turn out. But yes, I'm with you, Ian. This is everything about the MCU has to be a precursor to stepping into this. I don't think fresh, unknown fans can walk into these at all.
I don't know. I disagree. I don't understand why anybody who's... I think anybody can really pick up on this. Does it help to watch all the MCU movies? Sure. I mean, why else would you be watching the What If series if you haven't? But with the shorthand they have to do to fit these stories into 30 minutes, like if you've never seen, a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah, if you've never seen Guardians of the Galaxy and like, who's this guy strolling up to pick up this rock in a cave? Oh, it's a black dude from that voice of the guy who died last year. Okay, like it's not gonna work. You need prior knowledge for this 100%.
If that's how someone described Chadwick Boseman, that's sad.
I know, but there's a tool or two out there who does. So
the almost Oscar-winning actor, the black guy that died last year.
The black guy that died last year.
One.
Yeah.
No,
but that's where it's at, though.
Yeah, it is, and it's damaging to his legacy.
Well, I want to. I'll say that I think this episode was damaging to the legacy of Black Panther, frankly. But I just want to stop and say, for anybody who is watching live, feel free to jump into the comments if any questions or comments or theories or anything you want us to talk about. We are here for you. And if you are watching this at a later date, you can still drop some stuff in the comments, and we might talk about it next week because it's going to be a completely different, episode, unconnected from this one. But we can. What is that noise? Anyway, but we can all roll it up into one big conversation. But here's the thing. I honestly think it's better if you've never seen the Marvel movies to watch this episode because, Don, not because of the confusion of what's going on, but with what I think is sort of the inconsistency of what they do with the characters. T'Challa gets picked up when he's 10 years old, maybe it's 1988 or so. He has this conversation with his dad that is very much in character of him wanting to go out and see the wider world because his dad has only raised him in Wakanda. He says, no one leaves here because I've been out there and ostensibly other, members of the kingdom have explored the outer world. They've decided that it's no good. So that's why they've got this giant force field. They've got the vibranium, which helps them to advance their culture beyond what even the outside world is capable of. But young T'Challa is like, I still want to go. So late one night, he is, throwing a spear through the fields, and he goes and it penetrates the force field. Or I don't exactly know. Aside from being a mask, I guess that's the only service it fulfills because he runs right through the thing. It's not like a physical barrier. It looks almost like what Scarlet Witch had going on outside that town. The dome. Yes, he chases that through the dome, gets the spear, and right then he's picked up by the Ravager scouts, which I thought that was kind of funny when they're brought back to Yondu, and he's like, "That's not the kid," and Sean Gunn's character is like, "All these Earthlings look alike to me," or maybe it was Laserface. That was kind of cute, but T'Challa, it's unclear to me how he grows up to become the man he becomes because he and Peter Quill were abducted at about the same time under somewhat similar circumstances. Now, Peter Quill had just lost his mother, so he was traumatized when he gets brought up to the ship. But they're still both young, impressionable children. Peter Quill kind of grows up to be this roguish kind of like thieving adventurer, ostensibly because he was raised by Yondu and this team of Ravagers. T'Challa is also raised by Yondu and this team of Ravagers, but he is such a shining, gleaming, flawless, likable character that everybody knows who he is. Everybody loves him. There's no place for his character to go, and indeed, he doesn't really go anywhere that isn't, determined by circumstance.
He just goes to a closet and gets a jacket. That's it.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like Black Panther is not a character in this show. He was much more of a multifaceted, multidimensional character in the previous movies. Not even just Black Panther, but going back to Civil War. That when I heard this was Chadwick Boseman's farewell, I was like, wow, this is great. But within the first 3 minutes, when he's just joking around with I don't know, was that actually Jaimin Hansu?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. I couldn't, I know it was his character, but I couldn't tell if that was his voice. I didn't catch it in the credits. I was too distracted by the fact that Kurt Russell shows up in this, but it's practically a stinger. Yeah. Another one of those weird choices where it's like, considering what he says, you could have literally gotten anybody and saved a ton of money.
Probably.
Right. But I guess it's the good cred.
Yeah. Or
sure.
He's generous.
Yeah. I just hope they film that over Zoom because, like, calling him into the studio and recording, like, hey, Peter. Sure. But so that was my big gripe, and everything kind of flowed from that central problem. I mean, I was checked out during a lot of this because, as we kind of saw with the Captain America episode last week, once you get past the what if premise, it just kind of becomes a generic action adventure episode that's wrapped up in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
There's some nice Easter eggs. I really liked Howard the Duck, and I was kind of bummed out that he's only on screen for like 2 minutes. But I'm starting to wonder if what is her name? The writer of the show we talked about, AC Bradley.
Yeah.
Has she read comics? Has she watched the Marvel stuff? Because this seems very much like you've got superheroes, they're going to do superhero-y things, and we're going to kind of mix them up together. But as far as consistency, it's a cartoon.
What kind of consistency are you asking for here? Because
fair question.
That's what the whole thing is about What If, is like they don't have to be consistent.
Well, no, that's not true.
I mean, are you talking about consistency in character or what?
Yeah, consistency, or at least internal logic. Because let's go back to that question
You're talking about logic.
Yes, let's go back to T'Challa.
Are you saying T'Challa in that environment doesn't turn into the regal same man he would be? He turned into a scoundrelish guy, and we don't get.
I'm not even saying he turns into a scoundrel. I'm saying he might be a virtuous guy, but I'm saying that he shouldn't have this Barack Obama-esque superpower to make everybody around him love him. He doesn't turn the Ravagers good. He does not have the conversation with Thanos. Because honestly, you're telling me that in the hundreds or thousands of years that Thanos has been alive, no one has ever had or tried to have a reasoned conversation with him about his ideas, even back on the planet when he was like, having his Jor-El moment where we're all doomed. I just don't buy it.
I mean, sure, more time would have been helpful. I don't know if I like pretty much everything I've seen so far, but I will say more time would have been beneficial to the writing. More character moments like this. How does T'Challa not become very influenced by Yondu and the gang? How does he maintain his T'Challa-ness and his Wakandian
you had me at T'Challa
his Wakandian disposition, like Don was saying, this wisdom and this all-knowing, like you said, this Barack Obama essence. I mean, I really just think like the writer was just like, look, let's take who Boseman's T'Challa is and place him in the Starlord outfit.
Yeah.
He is this T'Challa Starlord, but we're not going to find out really how he became that. We're just going to skip through that, and this is just we're placing him in this character, and I don't know, maybe it speaks to the fact that like there's a lot more to T'Challa than just, say, donning the mantle of a Black Panther. Like, he could don the mantle of any title or any hero role and still be who we know as T'Challa, no matter what his nature and nurture is.
Now, my question about this episode in particular is that what was the alternative for Peter Quill if he wasn't taken by the Ravagers? Where would he, somehow become involved in another mantle or another life of theft or something else like that? Will we see something revolving around Chris Pratt's Peter Quill and What If? Or are we just going to leave this as what if he was never Starlord and T'Challa was Starlord instead?
Well, we get a glimpse of that at the very end where, Peter Quill is mopping up at a Dairy Queen.
Oh, shoot, you're right. Yeah.
Super successful guy.
Well, but he's successful in the, well, we don't know everything about him, but he's not out, picking pockets or knocking over liquor stores. He's mopping up at a Dairy Queen. And then his father, comes in to say, hey, what's up? And we all know that his father is Ego, the Living Planet from Guardians 2. That invites some interesting ideas, but, it would be cool to see who that Peter Quill grew up to be. Who did he get adopted?
That's for another. That's when Jeffrey Wright pops in and goes, "That's for another story, another time."
Right, but what I'm saying, and I think it's picking up on what Annie's putting down is it almost would have been interesting if they had done, and you only have a half hour, but do parallel like split stories of here's what happened to Peter Quill, and you cut from Peter to T'Challa, them wrestling with different things, and then maybe at the end of the episode, you've got T'Challa realizing that his dad was kind of right. Up here, it kind of sucks because it's all a bunch of thieves and criminals and people trying to destroy each other. I'm going back to Wakanda. And then Peter Quill has his Luke Skywalker moment where there's nothing good down here. I feel trapped. I want to go up to space. So maybe they meet in the middle and T'Challa's like, I've got this spaceship. And Peter Quill's like, I'll give you a lift back to your place before I go. Something like that. But again, for a show that builds itself on imagination, I feel like I'm just sitting here watching a 15-minute fight of, aliens duking it out in a spaceship, which I've seen 100 times, except it's animated.
And when did the Collector get buffed and skilled?
When did he become Kraven the Hunter? Yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
I want slimy Benicio.
He looked like Jeff Goldblum if Jeff Goldblum wasn't the Grandmaster. I'm looking at him, I'm like, why is he flamboyant? And why is he ripped? What happened?
I mean, he was
CrossFit, right?
He was kind of flamboyant in a kind of like a mysterious way, but it's like he was totally roided in this episode, and I was like, it almost felt like a antagonist from like a manga movie or something. It's like Dragon Ball Z type character. Yeah, like what is going on here? I'm like,
especially
go sorry. No, I was just gonna say, okay, we're gonna go with this. I mean, fine. It's not the Collector from the comics. It's not necessarily the Collector from the movie, but all right, let's see where this is going.
Okay.
I thought that was I wouldn't even call it invention, but it was just kind of interesting to see, during that fight with T'Challa in the big chamber where they've got all the bodies that he's collected. I like the way that they were kind of smart chambers. They moved out of the way as the bodies being hurled across the room and rearranging themselves. And then the Collector has a lot of different memorabilia from past foes and things that he's collected, such as the crown from oh my gosh,
Hela.
what was Hela? Yes,
yeah.
That was cool. You see a Captain America shield,
Thor's
unused, Thor's hammer, and I think it was the dagger from was it Malekith, right? The Dark Elf.
Whatever they have to do to prop up Thor 2, we know that's a
Thor
continuing
2 was
thread.
Good. You just don't like mythology.
Thor 2's awesome.
I don't
like it.
Hey Don, we're gonna do a special Cinephile Hissy Fit podcast. Will can referee. It'll be 2 on 2.
Right. That's on our list.
All right, but no, I'm saying we'll broaden it out. We'll do 2 on 2, and then Will can referee in the middle. Yeah.
That would give him a good role to do.
We've got some feeling. I'm sure he'd be an impartial juror. No, but no. So yeah, I've been bagging on the episode for some reason. I don't know if it was the same animation team or the same style. It didn't bug me as much as it did in the first episode. I thought it looked a little bit more like there were people behind it. In this one, it was nice to. I thought it was a neat idea for Thanos to turn into a good guy. Didn't quite buy the transition, and I was a little bit disappointed that they essentially just turned him into Drax at the end because they didn't really have a Drax except with that one little bargain. But to use that intellect that he has to just end up being the muscle, I don't know.
I mean, why didn't you buy it? Because it's pretty much in this episode. That's all we knew of him. It's not like the whole point of the what if is like you're just supposed to distance yourself from how you knew that character, and this is what they're introducing, and you just
and that's why I'm saying it's better if you come into this not knowing anything about Marvel, because it's like, oh, it's the big purple guy and he's funny, but me knowing that Thanos has been this intellect, this powerhouse that has been haunting the Marvel universe for 20 movies in 10 years, to see him wind up like this, I'm like, I kind of want to. I would rather see 20 minutes of that conversation of T'Challa talking him down from the genocidal ledge than the aftermath.
It'll be on how it should have ended, where Superman and Batman in the cafe, and we'll get an episode like that. That's what
how it should have started. There you go.
Yeah, right. I tell you what, MVP of the episode for me is Nebula. That's a nice arc for Nebula.
Oh yeah,
that was really nice turn to have her be this woven piece of guidance that's kind of there between the Thanos side of her and the somewhat romantically linked T'Challa side. It was really nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Cha-Cha?
I know, right?
Hey,
your wife doesn't have a pet name.
We all have nicknames.
No.
Well, no. The thing is, and this is a completely personal thing. I don't know if anyone else does this, but the slang term for diarrhea in our household is the cha-chas.
Really?
Oh.
So when she's calling him cha-cha, I'm like,
sharing.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what everybody's here for. But no, it's cute. Where I think the episode could have used some breathing room, perhaps another half hour to be a full long episode, is when she does a triple cross. A triple cross is hard to pull off. It's almost impossible to pull off within the span of 5 minutes, which is what happens here. It's like, I'm turning you in. Wait, no, I was, I'm on your side. It turns out she was playing everybody against each other. I'm like, what is going on here? Again, I like the idea, but again, I just need more time with these folks.
Yeah, I think in another episode we're going to get a different Gamora, which will be very interesting.
I did see leaks of that. Yes.
I've seen the Funko Pop, so
okay.
Yeah.
Funko Pop doesn't care. They'll tell you how you die in the form of a Funko Pop, and that good luck.
True, True. It's a true story.
And then they'll make $8 off of it, I guess.
Yeah.
No, this is all news to me. So since we're in spoilers, and if there's Don, plug your ears because I know you're the non-spoiler guy. But what is the Funko Pop of Gamora from What If?
I mean, she basically takes on the mantle of the Thanos that we know from the MCU.
Oh my God!
I'll take that.
From what I could tell, because I could be wrong, but that's what I could tell.
It'd be great if she took on the mantle of the Thanos from What If, where she's just hanging around, helping out, being part of the Guardians.
I like
having a drink. She's just there.
What I liked about that is that it is cool to see Josh Brolin voicing him again, or
totally
hear him voice again. And it's a totally different. It's nice to see him stretch a different type of Thanos muscles here, literally and figuratively. And so it's even Jaimin Hansu. He gets a lot more screen time with his character than in any of the other Guardians movies. So I'm totally fine with what they're doing with the concept of What If. It's just, I wish there was just a little bit more time with it, because these are anthology one shots, and I've heard, and it could be totally wrong, but I don't know. I just popped up online within the past half hour from when we went live is that I heard that Chadwick Boseman recorded some other T'Challa episodes. So I don't know if we're going to get a different version of T'Challa in another episode as well, or what. I don't know.
Okay.
So
what I'm picking up on around the whole dais here is, I'm with David. Go ahead and throw any stuff against the wall to see what sticks. That's the whole point of What If, and I'm down with that. Are they trying? Let me ask this question around the room here. Are they trying too many changes in one short kind of place? Like Ian has said, these are half-hour episodes. You're already having a T'Challa story that obviously it's going to take some time to breathe, describe, and put forth. And then you swerve Thanos, and then you buff up Collector, and then we don't get Peter Quill, but then we kind of do. Are they putting too? Unlike, I think that was our complaint even last week. Okay, you have Peggy Carter. Did we really need that? The Hydra Stomper Iron Man thing? Is that too many things thrown in for the sake of including a zillion characters in one place? Are they doing too many concepts in one episode?
I think that's a good point, and I would agree. I think that is one of the problems here. We keep going back to it's only a half-hour episode, and I've even made that argument. I go back to something I think David said last week, describing What If as the Twilight Zone of the Marvel Universe. That's true in concept, but not in execution.
Agreed.
Because most of those Twilight Zone episodes over the 5 seasons, except for that one where they stretched out to hour-longs, and a lot of those were not great. But, Serling and, the writers that he got, Richard Matheson and a whole bunch of, talented folks got to do those episodes. They got in and out in, 25 minutes.
And stay
these
small.
memorable stories that we are talking about, 50 plus years later. That can happen here in the Marvel Universe. There's no reason that it can't. I just feel like they're focusing on stuff that is going to be recognizable to fans, but not necessarily consistent for people who go to these with, stories in mind, given the rich history that the Marvel Universe is built on. And it's disappointing because I feel like I have to put myself in a different mindset. I'm not watching something as smart as WandaVision, as imaginative as Loki. I'm essentially watching the Saturday morning eating cereal version of this universe. And that's fine. If that's what people want, it's just not what I want.
What do you think, Annie and Dave?
I think that Marvel... Go ahead.
No, too many pieces? Not enough pieces?
Sorry?
What do you I mean, too many swerves in one episode? Yes, no?
I think you were breaking up there a bit, Don.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Don. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was saying too many swerves in one episode. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to talk over anyone. I apologize. No, I think that knowing the Marvel fan base, someone is always going to want to see more and someone is always going to want to see less. I think it's difficult, especially in this instance where these are one-shots that we haven't seen before, cinematically in a sense. And it leaves that door open for imagination and creativity, but overstuffing them, especially with the Hydra Stomper in that first episode, and you have so many events going down in such a short period of time. It's incredibly distracting. I really like this episode. I thought it was very touching, and I thought it was a really nice tribute to Chadwick's legacy and his legacy as the Black Panther, because it's all those really positive traits that we know about him as, viewers from the outside in, and how we want to perceive him as this inherently good person despite outside influence. What the outside influence of the Ravengers doesn't get to him, and he kind of sticks to his Wakandan roots. That being said, I do think that they could have done a little bit more. There could have been a little more of that moral challenge at hand. Not everyone needed to gang up against the Collector. What if someone decided to side with the Collector? What happens if nobody is released at the end? What happens if Thanos turns? There are so many what ifs and what if that aren't elaborated on. And I think that if anything, these should be 2-part episodes or shorter. You leave them as cliffhangers and you follow up to them later, or you condense them 100%. I like it. I really enjoyed this episode. This is out of the first 3 that Disney has been so kind to share with us. This has been my favorite, and it's been super cool to see these ideas explored, and the animation was really neat. If there's one thing that Marvel can do, it is cosmic realities, and they really, really know how to do that well. But I felt like even when they go to the club and they're all having a drink, I'm like, I'm here having a drink with my buddies. I feel like this is me going out on a Friday night and meeting my friends at the bar to talk about social issues. But I mean, for what it's worth, I think if you're a smaller child and you really like Black Panther, this is the one for you.
That's true.
This is for you.
This play is young enough to anybody could walk into this one. Yeah.
It's safe enough for work where, you're not kind of being like, oh, I don't know about this one. Is it going to be PG-13? Is it going to border on R? Is it going to be bloodless? Is it going to be violent? Yeah. And hey, look, there's Cap Shield. Oh, there's the hammer, where I think that this is a safe transition for new fans to kind of get a grasp without truly getting a proper introduction to these characters at play.
Yeah, there's a Marvel Zombies episode later. So
I'm so excited for that one. That's gonna be so cool.
Yup.
Hey, Sejua had some comments.
I'm sorry. I was so wrapped up in the conversation, I didn't notice that we had comments because I didn't have that tab open. So are these comic book stories better as animated shows?
Well, the DC ones are.
Yes, they are.
That's
true.
Yes.
The DC animated movies have categorically
You're
been better
amazing.
than the live action. But you know,
except for the killing
Marvel,
joke. We're not going to talk about the killing joke.
don't, yeah. But Marvel has one like recent good. I mean, it depends on how far back you want to go. I mean, I grew up with the Spider-Man. There was Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That was a really good cartoon. I wish What If would do something like that, because that Avengers cartoon really pulled into like some random, like seldom seen, only for fans type of comic storylines that were pulling in some Avengers nuggets from the comics. I wish, like I said last episode, we're out in space in this episode. I wish maybe the writers could do more with the Nova Corps. Where they didn't explore that in the Guardians movies. They touched on it, but here's an opportunity for you to stretch a little bit and say, what if instead of the Ravagers grabbing Starlord or turning somebody into Starlord, the Nova Corps did, or whatever. It's like, I just wish it was stretched a little bit more about introducing maybe some ancillary characters that haven't been popping up in the MCU yet. What if Moon Knight appeared in this series before the Oscar Isaac show? That would be interesting.
Quasar, Adam Warlock,
something like that.
Yeah, this would be a rich ground for introducing newer characters. Yeah, new to this version of media.
I just feel like so far they're afraid to do that. And so far they're like, let's just do variations on what the MCU fans know from the MCU characters and stories.
David, you make a really good point, and especially what Ian and Don said about bringing in characters that we haven't had a proper debut of yet. They could have done this with Shang-Chi. That could have been a what if.
Mm-hmm.
What if we got a certain character that was in the movie that faced off with Shang-Chi? And I'm not going to spoil the movie yet because I'll probably get a text from Bob Chapek or something that says you have 3 days to live.
Abomination,
But there are opportunities where they're choosing the 45-day theatrical window that's very limiting, where they could do things like this, with the Nova Corps, instead of trying to shoehorn it in down the line, where people have lost interest with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, are they able to bring in like a character like Venom into this show? I don't know. I mean,
you got a truckload of money to give Sony for the pleasure and privilege. Come on.
Yeah.
Can we get Woody Harrelson in the clown wig again? What if he didn't wear that wig?
I don't know.
I think they're doing that with the Venom sequel, because from what I saw, he's not doing that anymore. Okay, so Sujiro also has to say, and I don't know what this is in reference to, the Japanese Spider-Man show is the best. Which one? Oh my gosh,
that was great.
That was really good.
When was this?
Did he come to the cross at one point?
Late 90s, right?
I don't know if he's talking about the live action one.
Didn't they nail him to the cross?
Enough.
It's not the Nicholas Hammond one, but I've only seen clips of that.
So is this an officially licensed Spider-Man show they did in Japan or something, or what is this?
You could say that, sure. I don't know if it's probably on YouTube as like Spider-Man. I think it's used. I think it's loosely used.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Like very loose, like totally different type of origin.
So Japanese Spider-Man was released in 1978.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
In Takatsu, and it lasted for 1 season.
Okay.
With 41 episodes.
Wow. What? That's a lot of episodes for one season.
Plus a movie, apparently, and it was on Tokyo Channel 12.
Okay.
Oh well.
So it was based on Stan Lee and Steve. The comics by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Okay. Yeah.
And it is in association with Marvel Comics Group.
Wow.
I think I remember seeing that in some documentary, one of those like Marvel comics documentaries, and Stan Lee was all excited. How could we say no to Japan?
So that just means he was awake when they talked to him.
Voice.
That guy was always on.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But no, that's that excites me more than the prospect of what if, frankly. What are we talking about? What's next week's episode? I mean, some of you have seen
you can tease us. Go ahead.
It is what if something was killing the Avengers?
Yeah. What if the Avengers never formed because their candidates were being killed off?
That too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So is it a spoiler to say what this thing is, or is it literally just like something that we haven't seen before?
It's a virus. No, I'm just kidding.
The Avengers got COVID.
What if the Avengers got COVID?
That's why all the superheroes wear masks.
This is why Bucky lives. This is why he lasted 100 years, because
it'll be like a He-Man moment at the end of the episode. You see kids wearing a mask.
That'd be great. Orko just comes out. Yeah.
I liked what was happening in. Again, I would say that you need more story in that episode as well.
There was no story.
Sorry.
So boring. It's so bland.
Get ready, Ian.
It's kind of taking place, Annie. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's kind of taking place between Iron Man 2 and Thor, the first Thor.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because it has a lot of direct references to both of those.
There's the donut and then
yeah. There's the donut and there's literally Thor, bleached eyebrows. Thor is there.
Hey, you know.
Bleached eyebrows.
That's what you got.
His eyebrows were bleached for Thor.
So are you saying that Chris Hemsworth's eyebrows became his natural color as the Thor movies progressed?
You know, you get that New Mexico sun.
His hairline moves forward.
Yeah. That's every Matthew McConaughey movie too. You know. There you go.
So essentially, you're saying I have at least another week to wait before I can possibly get excited about one of these what if shows. No, I mean, I like the idea of what if something was killing off the Avengers, because it sounds like what we were talking about, something we haven't really seen before.
Right.
And it'll be cool to see how they resolve that in a half hour. But yeah. So I think, does anyone have any final thoughts on this? Because we're just about we are over the runtime of the actual episode.
We could have done this episode ourselves with this runtime.
Wow.
There you go. Do I get to play T'Challa, or is it Starlord?
You're going to be Taserface.
You're going to be canceled. Is what you're going to be. Try that.
I cannot be canceled. I could play half of T'Challa.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So Sujiwa is gonna wait 1 second. Sorry, okay. Sujiwa, follow Sujiwa Ekanaika on Twitter.
On my Twitter, yeah.
Yes,
Ekanaika 3 times over. Yeah, you got it.
There you go, and you'll have the link there.
I like the fact that Carrie Coon came back as Proxima Midnight, and
good voice cast this episode.
Yeah, Seth Green is back as Howard the Duck. I would love to see more animated Howard the Duck. I mean, I think it's Howard the Duck's a character who would be, to answer your questions, Jua. I mean, he would be great in an animated, kind of like a Harley Quinn type animated series where you just have Howard the Duck encountering, just putting himself into these weird situations. It would be great. I mean, that's how trippy Marvel was in the 70s. They were willing to try out all these different things. And, I think, the way they're culling so many of these characters and bringing them to life. I mean, Shang-Chi debuted in the 70s, Luke Cage, all these things, just because it's it was probably, part of the zeitgeist and everything. I mean, Shang-Chi was kind of in a response to the Kung Fu TV series in a way. But also the Bruce Lee, popularity and everything. But, what's the zeitgeist now? There's nothing really to tap into nowadays. So that's why they're kind of culling material from the 70s and, early 80s and everything. There's still good comic stories out there that they can tap into that are even recent, but the new Thor movie is adapting a couple recent storylines, the God Smasher and the female Thor, Jane Foster as Thor. So that should be interesting. I hope it's not too Taika haha laughing.
Funny. Oh, it's going to be Taika haha laughing, because that's what his Star Wars is going to be as well. It's going to be like Thor. And I was like, Oh, I've seen What We Do in the Shadows, and then I watched the TV show, and I get it, Taika. We love you. We do. But, like, you're not Wes Anderson.
No,
y'all are saving me so many hours on future Marvel Disney
Well,
content.
what I'm hoping we're doing is giving you a reason to read some of these stories.
Oh,
So
no. I mean, we're going to go see them, of
We're
course.
there,
yeah.
I know, and I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch all of it, and we're probably going to be here talking about it. But no, David, and that's the problem, is you have been great in referring me to a lot of the source material and the stories, and I have been, doing my homework, which kind of makes what they're doing with the TV shows and the movies. And there are some exceptions. Like I've liked a lot of the TV that Disney Plus has put out with their Marvel stuff, but it always pales in comparison to what's going on in the source material. Part of that is because they've got multiple issues and like 32 pages each issue among across story arcs to develop characters and things, whereas you're trying to condense that into 45 minutes of television over 8 weeks. I understand, but it is just kind of a pale experience, and like it's just these movies and TV shows are just advertisements for the comics. and that's fine.
And new toys, new Funko Pops.
Yeah.
Well, David, if you stand in front of a mirror and you say Howard the Duck 3 times, Kevin Smith shows up in a hockey shirt and jorts and asks you when you can start.
Well, I that's fine. I just hope he doesn't ask me how I feel about the new He-Man.
Oh boy.
Oh, he means well. He's already working on Clerks 3, but
there's a lot of things he means well to do, and then they don't turn out.
Well, I hear he wants to do Werewolf by Night.
Kevin Smith does?
Kevin Smith.
I mean, if you make it into a series, that would be interesting. I just don't.
I want to see him with Moon Knight. I want to see a Werewolf by Night cameo in Moon Knight.
That would be. Cool.
I don't need. I did it like a Howard the Duck moment in Guardians, where he's
that's the thing is like I wish these shows would. You had it a little bit with WandaVision with introducing this new Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean. There are introducing some new characters like U.S. Agent, Winter Soldier, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki with Sylvie. I hope that they continue that path is in these live action shows, kind of doing what so far What If is afraid to do is just start to branch out and introduce some of these very interesting, compelling supporting characters in these live shows. I know Ethan Hawke is in Moon Knight. Not sure.
Oh yeah, he's going to be the villain.
Yeah, so that would be cool. And I know that they're going to introduce, the protege for Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. Yeah.
Kate Bishop.
Yeah. So
what did you call her? Peter Parker?
Oh, I was going to call her Kate Barton, but that's not.
Oh, Kate Barton. So, you got it.
Yeah. So, I mean. We'll see. It's only 2 episodes. Well, I've seen, Annie's seen. It's 3 episodes.
I've seen the third one, yeah.
What if? We'll see what happens. I think the 4th one is going to be, according to IMDb, Doctor Strange centric. So we'll see what happens there.
It'll be just what if Doctor Strange was a regular guy?
What if he was still doing surgery?
We didn't get 35 minutes of that from the first movie. He'll just
He's going to perform for open heart surgery for 35 minutes, and we're all going to watch and go, wow, his hands still shake.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to close this out for real with a question. Last question from Sajio. Which Marvel should Terrence Malick direct?
Inhumans, but I don't know if that would ever happen.
No. I would have that clown direct.
Oh my God, clown! Come on.
Hold on. What has a lot of?
You'll float too, Don.
I need a Marvel movie that has a lot of like furls and capes and curtains and shit. So like cornfields. So maybe he can do
Captain Marvel. Have her go through the cornfields.
He's got a lot of layers, and can he just do Mum-Ra and do a Thundercats movie and just but only in ultra slow mo and poetry and shit?
Can he do Kraven the Hunter?
That would be interesting.
There's a lot of fur and flowing
stuff.
There's
a lot of fur and fluff around Kraven.
He would never get to New York. He would just stay in hunting like in
and can Jessica Chastain just be in the background with no lines because that'd be fitting,
Sure.
Perfect.
Don, I'm going to turn you around on Terrence Malick because if it can happen to me, it can happen to you.
I'm going to turn you around and put a foot in your ass about
some character has to. some character has to caress wheat fields with their hands,
Oh,
you talking about Russell Crowe and Gladiator?
Right.
Anyway, it's a proud tradition. Anyway, that's it for this episode. We are mercifully going to put it to rest. I can't thank you all enough for joining me for this episode. I'm sticking with it. We're going to do the full 10. I am hopeful that I will see the light, much like I did with the Tree of Life, Don.
What else are we doing?
But it won't take me 10 years. David, that's exactly right. Wednesdays belong to me. No. And
he's like the collector.
Ooh, yes, but not nearly as ripped.
He's collecting us.
Can I do your eyeliner?
Yeah, there you go.
I would welcome the opportunity. Okay. Something's got to be. I'm a mess up.
Sure, there's a filter you could use, Annie.
I'm sure there is.
That's cheating.
What if he turns into Benicio del Toro? There you go.
Okay. Yeah,
I want to do the line.
I want to do the line to dress up as a character like he did in WandaVision.
I need an excuse for one of these soon here, man. Yeah.
Well, you're part way to Gamora.
I know, right? I need to get the green.
Do you have the green body paint, Don?
I can find some somewhere. I'm sure.
I'm sure you have the. What about the green? Oh wait. Yeah, you can do that.
Speaking of green body paint, I would love to see like some kind of what if where, what if, Bruce Banner didn't become Hulk and somebody else did. But
like we don't have a Rick Jones.
We don't have a Rick Jones, so
yeah.
I don't know.
They're already doing a She-Hulk series. See, that would be another one.
It would be
another what if. That would work really nicely for half an hour. Because what are they going to do with 6 to 8 episodes of She-Hulk?
You never know.
I don't know.
It'll be a stellar courtroom drama.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was Daredevil. Next.
I'm talking about like the cross examinations where she hulks out and just like starts smashing the hostile witness.
Yeah.
But no, I was wondering if there would be a way for like Steve Rogers to get the gamma radiation and turn him into the Hulk. What would that be like?
Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, demon in a bottle indeed. But no.
Yeah.
But before we go, I do want to plug, and this is for everyone to mark their calendars. This is way in advance. We're talking like 3 weeks away. I think exactly 3 weeks from tonight. We're going to be doing another double header. Last week we talked about the debut episode of What If, and then we talked about the Suicide Squad. On September 8th, we're going to be talking about Shang-Chi or Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi,
as I knew it up until the last 45 minutes. A couple
I had
of
a
us
cup of that Shang-Chi. It was delicious.
Shang-Chi chai tea. No,
he's from Chicago. That's why his last name is Chi.
Going to
Shang-CHI.
Go to Cheat Town.
Yeah.
Chai. No, Shang-CHI. I can't do it. But
Shang-Chi goes to Chi-Town.
Shang-CHI.
Yes. So Don and Annie, you guys saw the movie yesterday, and Mike Crowley he chimed into the green room for like 45 seconds, but he was driving, I think, back from the screening, so we lost him. But so you guys have seen it. No spoilers, but are you going to be excited to talk about this one? Whoa! All right, that's a spoiler, Don.
Annie,
that's
like
crying?
Sorry.
Am I crying?
You look like you're like.
Sorry.
That's me crying over how emotionally involved I became.
Okay.
She's the Clemson.
Excellent. Well, David and I will be seeing it opening Thursday, and instead of swallowing up everybody else's evening times, we're just going to back-to-back it on one of our What If nights.
All right.
So, please tune in for that. With that, I'm going to say goodnight to Earth's Mightiest Critics, Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics, Don Shanahan of Everything, and David Fowley of Keeping It Real. You can check down below for links to everybody's stuff, and all of our critics who could not be here tonight, their info will be down there too, so check them out and support them. Follow Sajiwa on Twitter to see those Spider-Man links. I'm definitely going to be watching that with great interest. Maybe we can do a new miniseries of all 41 Japanese Spider-Man live-action episodes.
Mark would love that.
I would not. Well, Mark might, but I would not subject all of you guys to it. But Mark would only do it if I told him it used to be a DC project and then transitioned to Marvel at some point. Yeah. But anyway, thanks, gang. We'll talk to you next week, and thank you for watching and tuning in. Leave your comments in the comment section if you want us to talk about stuff next week. Until then, good night. Let me say this again. Good night. Yes, I'm sure I want to end the broadcast. Good night.
Adieu.